You can learn all the books, watch all the videos, but if the people closest to you don't support your growth, your progress will slow down. Real change happens when your environment matches your goals. This video will show you why growth-minded people are your most powerful asset. Chapter 1. Read at least 10 pages of a great book. You want to grow. You want to get better. I see that in you. That's why you're here. You're searching for something more knowledge, more clarity, more purpose. But here's the truth. Growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens by choice. And one of the most powerful choices you can make every single day is to read, not scroll, not skim, not swipe. I mean, pick up a real life-changing book and read at least 10 pages. Now you might think, what's the point? It's just 10 pages. But that's where most people are wrong. 10 pages a day might not sound like much, but it's everything. Because 10 pages done daily becomes 300 pages a month. That's a full book. That's 12 books a year. That's 12 powerful new ideas. 12 new ways of thinking. 12 different lenses to see your life through. And if you're reading the right kind of books, books that challenge your thinking, push you forward, and open your mind, you won't be the same person by the end of the year. I'm not talking about reading just to pass time. I'm talking about reading to transform. There's a difference. Passive reading fills your time. Active reading fills your life. You're not just flipping pages, you're feeding your brain, stretching your perspective, and building a mental edge that most people will never have. If you really want to change your life, you have to change what you put into your mind. And books are the gateway to that. They slow you down. They make you think. They take you places you've never been. Books give you access to minds greater than yours, to experiences you haven't lived, to wisdom you weren't born with but can grow into. Now I know life gets busy. You have work. You have responsibilities. You've got notifications, distractions, constant noise pulling at you. But all you need is 20 minutes a day. Just 20 quiet minutes where it's just you and the page. That's enough time to read 10 pages and give yourself an edge before the world even wakes up. And here's what happens when you make that a habit. Over time, your thinking sharpens. Your ideas become clearer. You speak with more confidence. You make better decisions. And it doesn't happen overnight. It happens because day after day, you chose to do something most people ignore. You chose to read when others were watching mindless videos. You chose to invest in your mind instead of wasting your time. You chose to grow in silence while others stayed the same in noise. People around you might not notice the change right away, but they will. One day, they'll look at you and say, "How did you become so wise, so thoughtful, so focused?" And you'll know the answer. It was 10 pages. Every single day. Now I want to be clear about something. Not every book is worth your time. You don't want to just read anything. You want to read books that build you, that stretch your thinking, that challenge you to grow. Books on personal development, on mindset, on history, on faith, on leadership, on emotional strength, on purpose. Books written by people who have lived what you're trying to learn. Avoid junk books the same way you'd avoid junk food, because what you read becomes how you think, and how you think becomes how you live. When you read the right books, you start to think differently. Your internal conversations change. Your self-talk becomes stronger. You catch yourself thinking more clearly, speaking more wisely, and responding more calmly. You don't get thrown off by every little thing anymore. Why? Because you've trained your mind to slow down and reflect, just like you do when you read. You've trained your brain to find meaning, to look deeper, to understand more, just like those 10 pages taught you to. It's not about finishing a book fast. It's about digesting what you read, highlighting ideas, rereading lines that hit you deep, writing thoughts in the margins, feeling something change in you as you turn each page. That's what real learning looks like. And when it gets hard, and yes, some days will feel hard, you keep going. You keep your promise to yourself. You pick up that book even when you don't feel like it. You stay committed to your growth, even when the world is distracting you to do anything else. Because that's where real change happens. Not when it's easy, but when it's hard, and you show up anyway. Think about this: most of the people you admire, respect, and look up to, they're readers. They didn't get to where they are by chance. They fed their minds daily. They treated reading not as a chore but as a discipline, a tool, a quiet act of self-respect. You want to be better. You want to rise above the average. Then you can't do what average people do. Start by reading. Start by building that habit. Not someday. Today. If you feel stuck in life, start reading. If you feel lost, anxious, unclear, read. Because the answers you need are already written. Someone already lived through what you're going through. They wrote it down, and now it's in your hands. 10 pages away from a breakthrough. Books don't just educate you. They remind you of who you can become. They reignite the fire that life tried to put out. They give you tools to build the version of yourself you dream about. So what do you do now? You pick a book, a great one. You open to page 1, and you read 10 pages. Not for a test, not for a grade. For your life, for your future, for your growth. Start small, stay consistent. One day at a time, 10 pages at a time. That's how you educate yourself daily. That's how you change your life. Quietly, powerfully, and permanently. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need a classroom. You just need a decision. And that decision starts now. Chapter 2. Listen to one educational podcast every morning. There's something powerful about how you start your day. Those first moments set the tone. They either build your mindset or break your focus. And if you're serious about growing, mentally, emotionally, and personally, you need to make your mornings count. One of the simplest and most powerful ways to do that is by listening to one good educational podcast every single morning. Just one. That small habit can completely shift the way you think, act, and approach your life. This isn't about background noise. It's not about checking a box or listening while you scroll through your phone. It's about intentional learning, feeding your mind with powerful, meaningful information before the world throws distractions at you. When you start your morning by hearing real people speak about real problems, real solutions, and real growth, it does something inside you. It sharpens you. It gives you clarity. It gives your mind a purpose before your day even begins. You don't need to carve out hours. You don't need a quiet mountain or a perfect schedule. You just need 15 to 30 minutes. That's it. You could be brushing your teeth, making breakfast, walking to work, sitting in traffic, and still be learning something that could shape your decisions, your habits, your thinking. Now the question is, what kind of podcast should you be listening to? Choose something that lifts you, not drains you. Something that gives you tools, not noise. You want to listen to people who have walked the road you want to walk. People who are honest, insightful, and practical. Topics that matter, like mindset, personal growth, business, relationships, mental strength, emotional control, and success habits. Don't fall into the trap of entertainment disguised as education. Not every podcast is worth your time. You're not trying to kill time, you're trying to build yourself. That means tuning into voices that speak to your future, not just your comfort zone. And when you listen, Listen with intention. Pay attention to what hits you. If someone says something that stops you in your tracks, pause, rewind, reflect. Think about how that truth fits into your life right now. Is there something you need to change? A mindset you need to adjust? A habit you need to start? That's where the magic happens, not just in hearing something new, but in using it. Podcasts become powerful when you take the wisdom you hear and apply it to your real life. Maybe you hear a guest talk about waking up earlier, and that nudges you to finally start doing it. Maybe you hear someone talk about managing emotions, and suddenly you understand how to stop overreacting in your relationships. Or maybe you hear a story of failure and realize your own setbacks aren't the end. They're just the beginning. Those small shifts, those mental clicks can change everything. And they happen because you took the time to press play when most people are still asleep or scrolling through nonsense. This daily habit does more than feed your brain. It also builds consistency. It builds discipline. You're training your mind to expect growth every morning. You're reminding yourself, this is who I am now. I'm someone who values learning. I'm someone who takes action. I'm someone who starts the day with purpose. And here's what's really important. This habit compounds. You don't just learn something new each morning. You build a stronger version of yourself over time. One idea a day adds up. That's 30 life-changing insights a month. 365 in a year. Some of those insights will shape how you think forever. Others might just help you get through a tough moment in your day. But all of them matter. All of them make you sharper, wiser, calmer, and more focused than you were the day before. And don't underestimate the emotional impact either. When you start your day listening to uplifting voices, inspiring stories, or clear thinking, it changes your emotional state. You walk into your day with more confidence, more motivation, more peace. Compare that to how most people start their day, rushing, stressed, scrolling through fear-based headlines or pointless arguments. No wonder they feel stuck, overwhelmed, and lost. They're feeding chaos into their mind before they've even stepped outside. But not you. You're choosing something different. You're choosing order over chaos, intention over distraction, growth over entertainment. That decision, starting your day with an educational podcast, might feel small, but it's powerful. It's one of those habits that separates the serious from the casual, the focused from the distracted, the growing from the stagnant. Now there's one more key to this: stick with it. Don't skip days. Don't wait until you feel like it. Make it part of your morning routine, like brushing your teeth or drinking water. It should feel non-negotiable. This is not something you do when you're in the mood. It's something you do because it shapes your mindset, your energy, and your future. Even on tough mornings, even when you're tired, even when life feels heavy, you show up, you press play, you learn something new. That discipline is what creates long-term change. And if you find a podcast that truly speaks to you, revisit it. Don't be afraid to listen twice. Some episodes hit differently the second time, and the more you hear powerful ideas, the deeper they sink into your mind. Make it easy for yourself. Set up a playlist the night before. Have your headphones or speakers ready. Reduce friction. You don't want to waste time searching when you could already be learning. Build the system around your growth. And if you're a parent, share what you learned. If you're in a relationship, talk about the episode over breakfast. Spread the ideas. Reinforce them by discussing them. Turn that solo habit into something that elevates your whole environment. This is how transformation happens. Not from one big event, but from small, daily decisions repeated with consistency and purpose. You don't need fancy degrees to grow. You don't need to wait for the right moment. Growth is available every single morning, right in your pocket. You just need to choose it. So when you wake up tomorrow, before the day gets noisy, before the distractions hit, press play on something that builds you, something that reminds you of who you want to be, something that fills your mind with strength, hope, and direction. This is your life, your time, your mind. Don't leave it up to chance. Start the day feeding it with something that matters. One podcast, one morning, every day. That's how you educate yourself daily. And that's how you quietly, powerfully change your life. Chapter 3. Watch one high-quality educational video daily. Every single day is a chance to learn something new. Every day brings you a decision. Do you let your time pass, or do you use it to build yourself? One of the most accessible ways to grow today is this: watch one high-quality educational video every day. That's it. One video, one commitment. And that one habit can change how you think, how you feel, how you act, and eventually who you become. Right now, the internet gives you more access to knowledge than any other generation in history. You can sit at home and learn from the most brilliant minds in the world. You don't need permission. You don't need a classroom. You don't need a certificate. All you need is the discipline to use what's in front of you. But not every video helps you grow. Not every voice builds you. There's a difference between consuming and learning, between entertainment and education. You're not watching to pass time. You're watching to feed your mind, strengthen your thinking, and give yourself an edge most people don't have. One high-quality educational video a day can open your world. You can learn about emotional intelligence, mental discipline, communication, finance, health, leadership, productivity, anything that helps you become stronger, sharper, and wiser. Think about this: in just 15 minutes, you can absorb a concept that someone took years to figure out. You can understand an idea that someone else struggled to put into words. You can watch someone break down a truth that completely shifts your perspective. And when that becomes your daily habit, your whole mindset changes. You don't look at the world the same. You don't handle your problems the same. You don't speak, think, or react the same. Because day by day, you're filling your mind with tools, with structure, with insight. And that kind of mental training, when done consistently, leads to a completely different life. It's easy to underestimate the power of one video. It's easy to think, that won't change much. But that's the mistake most people make. They want dramatic change, but they overlook daily improvement. And daily improvement is how real success is built. It's not about watching for hours. It's not about quantity. It's about depth, focus, attention. Watching one quality video with full concentration can teach you more than 10 random ones with half your mind present. When you sit down to watch, do it like you're showing up for something serious, because you are. Sit up. Put distractions away. Take notes. Pause if something hits you. Replay parts that make you think. Because it's not about checking off a habit. It's about letting new ideas sink deep into your mind, where they can actually shape how you live. Over time, you'll start to notice something. You'll understand things faster. You'll speak with more clarity. You'll handle stress better. You'll be able to explain difficult topics in simple ways. That's the sign of someone who's feeding their brain with quality material. Now, not all videos are created equal. Just because something is labeled educational doesn't mean it helps you grow. Be intentional with what you choose. Watch videos that challenge your thinking, that introduce you to better habits, that stretch your understanding of yourself and the world. Avoid clickbait. Avoid content that's emotionally shallow, outrage-driven, or purely entertainment masked as learning. Your time is too valuable to waste. You're not here to escape. You're here to elevate. If you're wondering where to start, think about what area of your life you want to improve right now. Is it discipline? Mindset? Emotional control? Confidence? Pick one. Then search for content that speaks directly to that. As you keep watching day after day, keep a notebook or a digital journal. Write down the most important point you got from each video. Over weeks and months, you'll build your own personal library of insights, and reading those notes later, that'll remind you how far you've come. This habit also helps you in ways you don't expect. You start having better conversations. You bring value to the people around you. You ask better questions. You become the kind of person people want to be around, not because you're trying to impress them, but because your mind is working at a higher level. It also helps your confidence. When you understand something deeply, when you've learned it directly from great minds, you walk with more certainty. You speak with more conviction. That shows in your posture, your tone, your presence. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to remember everything, but you need to show up. You need to make it part of your life. This is how you build mental strength in a world that encourages mental laziness. You'll also start to see patterns. You'll hear different people saying similar things, just in their own words. That's when you realize success has principles, growth has patterns, and when you see them enough, they become part of your thinking. You don't need to keep searching for a secret formula. The truth is, it's all out there. The challenge is staying focused long enough to absorb it. Watching one video daily isn't about speed, it's about layering. One layer of insight at a time, one lesson at a time. That's how you build depth. That's how you move from knowing something to living it. Some videos might be motivational. Some will be strategic. Others might be hard to hear, but necessary. You need all of them. The truth isn't always easy, but it's always freeing. And even on the days when you're tired, when you feel unmotivated, when your schedule is packed, watch something, even if it's short. Show your mind that growth doesn't depend on mood. It depends on consistency. Every time you choose growth over distraction, you're building a new version of yourself. Every time you press play on something meaningful, you're stepping into a stronger future. Most people waste their attention on nonsense. You're choosing to invest it in something that actually gives you a return. That decision, it compounds. It pays off in confidence, clarity, and calmness. And no one can take that away from you. You don't need permission to grow. You just need discipline. One video, one idea, one step forward every day. You are in control of your attention. You are in control of what enters your mind. You are in control of who you become. Make the choice to become someone who learns. Every single day. Quietly, consistently, powerfully. That's how you educate yourself. That's how you grow. That's how you build the life you were meant to live. One high-quality video at a time. Chapter 4. Take detailed notes and reflect on key lessons. Learning is one thing. Remembering and using what you've learned, that's something entirely different. Every day you might read something powerful, watch a video that moves you, or listen to a podcast that opens your mind. But what happens after that? What happens when the moment is over, when the words fade, when your mind gets busy with life again? That's where most people lose the value of what they learned, because they don't stop, they don't slow down to take notes, and they definitely don't pause to reflect. You don't grow just by hearing new ideas. You grow by working with them, writing them down, thinking through them, asking yourself, how does this apply to my life right now? That's why taking detailed notes and reflecting on key lessons every day matters. It's not just a good idea, it's essential if you're serious about personal growth. When you write something down, you tell your brain, this is important, I want to remember this. Your mind starts to treat that idea differently. It moves from short-term memory into something deeper, something that sticks. But more than that, writing makes you think. You can't write clearly if your thoughts are messy. So when you put your learning into words, you're not just copying something down, you're processing it, you're understanding it, you're making it real. That kind of note-taking isn't passive, it's active, it's intentional, and it gives you control over your own learning. You start to see patterns in what speaks to you. You catch the lessons that hit your heart, not just your head. And you build your own personal guidebook for life, written by you for you. So what does that look like in real life? Start by choosing a tool that feels right for you. It could be a physical notebook, a digital note app, or a private document on your computer. What matters most is that you stick to it daily. Keep it in one place. Keep it organized. Then after you read, watch or listen to something educational, take 5 to 10 minutes to write. Write down what stood out. What hit you hardest? What challenged your thinking? What made you pause? Don't worry about perfect grammar or neatness. Focus on clarity. Focus on truth. Focus on capturing the idea in your own words. And go deeper than just summarizing what someone said. Write about why it matters. Write about how it connects to your life. Write about what needs to change because of that lesson. Reflection is the second half of the process. This is where you sit with the idea and let it speak to you. Ask yourself, how can I use this in my life today? Where am I falling short of this principle? What would my life look like if I lived this fully? Those questions lead you into the kind of thinking that changes habits, changes choices, changes direction. You'll start to notice something amazing. The more you reflect, the more honest you get with yourself. The more clarity you gain. You stop living on autopilot. You start seeing your own blind spots. You start correcting small things before they become big problems. And as you do this day after day, your notebook becomes more than notes. It becomes a mirror, a journal of growth, a track record of how far you've come and where you're headed. It becomes your personal library of wisdom, not someone else's, not copied from a book, but gathered and shaped through your own journey. You'll look back one day and see how certain ideas came into your life at just the right moment. You'll remember how they helped you face something difficult, shift your mindset, or unlock a better version of yourself. And on days when you feel lost, tired, or uncertain, those pages will guide you back. Your own words will remind you of who you're becoming. Note-taking isn't just for students. It's a lifelong skill for anyone who wants to live with intention. The more serious you are about growing, the more serious you need to be about capturing what you're learning. This habit isn't glamorous. No one applauds it. But it works. It separates people who skim through life from those who actually transform. It also builds discipline. It teaches you to slow down, to sit with your thoughts, to carve out quiet space in a loud world. That space, those minutes of reflection, will do more for your mind than hours of empty scrolling ever could. And you don't need to write pages every day. Just one idea, one insight, one key lesson, written clearly and reflected on honestly, can shift your entire week. Be patient with yourself. Your notes don't have to look impressive. They just have to be real, raw, meaningful to you. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. You'll start noticing insights everywhere. In books, videos, conversations, experiences. Your brain will start looking for lessons. You'll become someone who thinks deeply, sees patterns and remembers what matters. Most people forget 90% of what they learn, not because they're lazy, but because they don't take the time to make it stick. You're doing something different. You're anchoring truth into your life by writing it down and reflecting on it. That one habit. It's a game changer, because ideas that live in your notebook end up living in your actions. And your actions are what shape your results. So here's what it comes down to. Are you willing to slow down enough to learn deeply? Are you willing to write things down? Not for anyone else, but for your own growth. Are you willing to sit in reflection, even when life is busy and loud? If the answer is yes, then you're already different from most. You're serious about growth. You're building a mindset that doesn't just consume knowledge, but lives it. And that kind of mindset, it changes everything. Chapter 5. Practice what you learn through small daily actions. Learning something new feels good. You read something powerful, hear an inspiring idea, watch a video that opens your mind, and for a moment it feels like everything is shifting. But there's something important that separates real growth from just mental stimulation: action. If you don't practice what you learn, you're just collecting information. You're not changing anything. You're not becoming better. You're just filling your mind and hoping things magically improve. That's not how real transformation works. The truth is simple. If you want to grow, you need to live what you learn. And that starts by applying those lessons in small, consistent daily actions. Not someday. Not when you feel ready. Now. Every idea you hear, every principle you underline, every lesson that makes you nod in agreement, it's useless until you do something with it. Even the smallest action matters. Because knowledge without action is just potential. Action is what makes it real. You don't need to wait until you've mastered everything. You don't need a 10-step plan. You just need to take one small step today. One step that puts what you've learned into motion. For example, if you're learning about discipline, your action might be getting up 5 minutes earlier tomorrow. Just 5 minutes. That's a small but meaningful practice of what you're learning. And that small step done daily creates momentum. It builds confidence. It proves to yourself that you're serious. If you read about gratitude, your action might be writing down one thing you're thankful for every morning. Not a long journal, just one sentence. But that sentence rewires your thinking. It moves the idea of gratitude from a nice concept to a living habit. When you apply what you've learned in these small ways, your life starts to shift, quietly at first, then noticeably. People around you won't see the inner work, but they'll feel the difference. You'll start speaking with more clarity. You'll show up with more intention. You'll carry yourself with more direction. That's the power of applying what you learn, not in giant leaps, but in small intentional steps each day. And you don't need to get it perfect. You just need to stay consistent. Show up for yourself. Keep choosing to act on what you learn, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's hard. Growth doesn't come from knowing more. It comes from doing more with what you know. Most people stay stuck because they think they need more information. They believe if they just read one more book, listen to one more podcast, watch one more video, they'll finally feel ready. But you don't need more. You need to take what you already know and put it into practice. Because when you act, you learn faster. You understand deeper. You grow stronger. Think about the difference between reading about confidence and doing something that scares you. One gives you theory. The other builds you. That's why small daily action matters. It bridges the gap between what you learn and who you become. And these actions don't need to be big to be powerful. Small actions are often the most sustainable. They're easy to repeat. They build momentum. They give you quick feedback. You read about improving your focus. Start by putting your phone away during meals. That's a small action, but it rewires your attention. It helps you be present. That one habit spills over into how you work, how you listen, how you live. You learned something about better communication. Start by making eye contact and listening fully in your next conversation. That's simple, but it strengthens your connection with people. That's how transformation begins. You watched a video on time management. Apply it by setting a 30-minute timer to do one focused task today. That's it. That's what growth in real time looks like. Every lesson you learn becomes a seed, but that seed only grows when you water it with action, when you show up, when you move your body, shift your habits, change your response. There's a confidence that comes when you start practicing what you've learned. You stop feeling like an imposter. You stop second-guessing yourself. You start becoming someone who not only knows better, but lives better. And people can feel that. They trust you more. They listen when you speak. Not because you memorized facts, but because you're living what you say. That's what makes you different. That's what builds real character. And here's something important. You will fail. You'll forget to act. You'll miss days. You'll slip back into old patterns. That's normal. What matters is what you do next. Will you stay down, or will you pick the habit back up again? Real growth isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about being the kind of person who falls but keeps showing up, who keeps trying, who keeps doing the small things that add up to big change. You want to know who you are. Look at what you do every day, not what you plan, not what you say, what you do. That's where the truth lives. And if your daily actions reflect the lessons you're learning, then your life will start reflecting those changes too. You don't need to change everything overnight. You don't need to impress anyone. You just need to ask yourself one simple question at the end of each day. Did I apply something I learned today? If the answer is yes, even in a small way, you're on the right track. And if the answer is no, then tomorrow you start again. You take one step. You turn a lesson into action. You prove to yourself that you're serious about becoming someone better. This is how you educate yourself daily, not by cramming more in, but by living more out, by turning what you learn into how you live. That's the difference between information and transformation. So today, take that one lesson that stood out to you. Ask yourself what small step you can take with it. Then do it. No drama, no waiting, just action. Chapter 6. Teach someone else what you just learned today. When you learn something new, it changes you. But when you teach it to someone else, it becomes part of you. If you want to understand something deeply, share it, speak it, pass it on. Because real learning doesn't stop at understanding. It begins when you can explain it clearly to another person. That's why one of the most powerful ways to educate yourself daily is to teach someone else what you just learned today. Not next week. Not when you feel like an expert. Today. The reason is simple. Teaching forces clarity. It takes what's sitting in your mind and brings it into focus. It turns scattered thoughts into structured ideas. It reveals what you really understand and what you don't. Most people think they need to wait until they've mastered something before they can teach it. That's not true. You don't teach because you're perfect. You teach because you're growing. You teach because it helps you sharpen what you've just learned. And you don't need a classroom. You don't need a stage. You only need a conversation. One person, one moment, one exchange of truth that reinforces what you just took in. That person could be your friend, a coworker, your partner, your sibling, even a child. The point isn't who, it's how you explain what you just learned, in your own words. You might have read a page in a book, watched a powerful video, or heard a deep insight in a podcast. Once it hits you, once it makes sense, turn around and speak it. Make it part of your language. Say it out loud. Or better yet, say it to someone who needs it. When you do that, you turn information into transformation. Because now you're not just consuming, you're contributing. You're not just learning, you're leading quietly, simply, but powerfully. And that builds confidence. The more you explain what you've learned, the more certain you become in your own understanding. You'll notice your thoughts getting sharper, your memory getting stronger, your ability to think on your feet improving. It also deepens your emotional connection to the lesson. When you share something, you're not just recalling it, you're feeling it again. You remember why it mattered, why it moved you, why it made sense. And when the person you're sharing it with responds, when they nod or ask questions, when they engage with your words, it reinforces the idea even more. It anchors it deeper into your mind. That's the power of teaching. It's not just a gift for the other person. It's an investment in your own growth. And here's something else that's just as important. When you teach someone else, you take responsibility for your knowledge. You stop being a passive learner. You stop moving from one idea to the next without processing it. You become intentional, present, focused. You're no longer just absorbing content, you're living it, expressing it, and spreading it. You don't need to be loud. You don't need to be a professional speaker. You just need to care enough about the truth you've learned to pass it forward. Maybe you learned something about discipline today. Talk about it over dinner. Share how it hit you. Mention the one sentence that stood out. Watch how it sparks conversation. That's teaching. Maybe you picked up a lesson on mindset. Bring it up with your friend. Say what changed in your thinking. Say it out loud. That's teaching. Even writing it down in a message to someone, posting a simple thought online, or recording a short voice note to a friend. These are all ways to teach what you've learned. It doesn't have to be formal. It just has to be real. And here's something that makes this even more powerful. When you teach others, you multiply your learning. Because now one lesson isn't just for you. It becomes a tool for someone else. You create impact, quiet impact, but it spreads, and the people around you, they feel it. They see that you're not just collecting ideas, you're living them, embodying them, sharing them, and that makes you trustworthy, valuable, someone people go to when they need clarity, direction, or insight. The more you teach, the more you grow. Because every time you explain an idea, you understand it in a new way. You find better words. You draw clearer connections. You see new layers in the lesson. That's how you move from knowing something in your head to owning it in your life. And don't worry if you feel awkward at first. That's normal. It's part of the process. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is presence. The goal is to engage with what you learned and share it from where you are now. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes, and soon it's part of your rhythm. You learn something meaningful, and you immediately think, who can I share this with? That mindset alone will change your life. It makes you more aware, more active, more connected, and it helps you build relationships rooted in growth. When you teach others, you invite them into your learning journey. You stop trying to figure it all out alone. You grow together. You rise together. It creates depth in your conversations, meaning in your interactions, purpose in your presence. Think about it. Every time you teach someone, you're planting a seed. That idea might grow in them, and they might pass it on to someone else. And just like that, one lesson becomes a chain of impact. That's what education at its best looks like. Not locked in a system, not saved for professionals, but lived, breathed, and passed on by people who care enough to grow. So today, take what you just learned and give it away. Share it in a voice that's real, in words that make sense, in a way that helps both you and the person hearing it. Because every time you teach, you grow. Every time you speak what you've learned, you make it part of who you are. And every time you share a lesson, you change a life, starting with your own. Chapter 7. Set one learning goal every single morning. The way you begin your morning shapes your entire day. And one of the most powerful habits you can build for lifelong growth is to set one clear learning goal every single morning. One goal, one intention, one direction. When you wake up, your mind is fresh. Your thoughts are quiet. You're not yet pulled into distractions, responsibilities, or noise. This is the perfect time to decide what you're going to learn today, before the day starts pulling you in different directions. Without a goal, your mind drifts. You go through the motions. You absorb things passively. You might scroll, read, or watch, but it doesn't stick. You don't remember it. It doesn't change anything. But when you wake up and say to yourself, "This is what I want to learn today," something shifts. Your brain starts paying attention. You become intentional. This learning goal doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be clear. Maybe today, your goal is to understand a new concept from a book you've been reading. Maybe it's to learn how to improve your communication. Maybe it's to find out how successful people manage stress, or how to get more done in less time, or how to build confidence, or how to handle failure with strength. Whatever the goal is, once you set it, it becomes your focus. Now your mind has direction. It has something to look for, something to reach for, and that changes everything. Because now you're not reacting to whatever comes your way. You're learning on purpose. You start filtering what you see, hear, and read through that goal. You pick better content. You ask better questions. You process what you learn more deeply, because you already know what you're looking for. This practice helps you stay mentally awake. It stops you from coasting through your day. It gives your mind a reason to stay active, alert, and aware. And over time, this small habit compounds. One focused learning goal a day becomes 30 new insights a month, 365 deeper understandings a year. That's how ordinary people grow into extraordinary thinkers, one focused day at a time. This habit also builds confidence, because as you complete your daily learning goals, you start proving to yourself that you're capable of growing every single day, that you're not stuck, that you're moving forward, that you're improving in ways that matter. It gives you a quiet sense of momentum, a belief in yourself that grows stronger with each day you follow through. And you don't need hours to do it. You just need 10 or 15 minutes of focused attention on something that matters to you. One YouTube video, one podcast, a few pages of a book, an article, a journal entry, a note to yourself. If it pushes your understanding forward, If it gives you clarity, insight, or a better way to think, then it counts. The key is that it's intentional, that it supports your daily goal. You don't even have to master the topic in one day. That's not the point. The point is consistent engagement. You're not trying to be perfect. You're building a habit, a lifestyle of growth. And over time, those learning goals begin to shape your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who just consumes information. You start seeing yourself as someone who actively develops. You're not just surviving the day. You're stretching, evolving, expanding your perspective on purpose. Another benefit of setting a learning goal in the morning is that it improves your decision-making throughout the day. When your brain is focused on growth, it becomes more selective. You stop wasting time on useless distractions. You choose better inputs. You create a filter that blocks out what doesn't matter. That one goal you set in the morning, it anchors your mind. It centers you. So how do you build this habit in a way that sticks? Start simple. Keep a small journal or notebook next to your bed or at your desk. Every morning, before you open your phone or get pulled into tasks, ask yourself this one question: what do I want to learn today that will move me forward? Write it down. Make it real. Don't overthink it. Don't try to impress anyone. Just be honest with yourself. What do you genuinely want to understand better today? Then, as you go through your day, keep that question in the back of your mind. Stay open. Stay curious. Stay alert. If you hear something that connects to your goal, write it down. If you watch or read something valuable, summarize it in your own words. If someone says something that sparks a thought, capture it. At the end of the day, revisit your goal. Ask yourself, did I learn what I set out to learn today? What do I now know that I didn't know this morning? How can I use this tomorrow? These small moments of reflection are where the real transformation happens. They reinforce the habit. They strengthen your sense of growth, and they help you carry your learning into the next day. And some days you'll go deeper. One idea will stick with you, and you'll want to explore it further the next day. That's great. That's momentum. That's real learning. You're not just checking boxes. You're building knowledge that stacks, insights that stay, growth that lasts. And don't worry about forgetting things. That's part of the process. The important thing is that you showed up for yourself today, that you set an intention, that you took action on it. That's what separates those who grow from those who stay stuck. People who drift through life wait for someone else to teach them. They wait for schools, jobs, courses, permission. But people who grow on purpose, they take ownership of their education. They don't wait. They don't hope. They learn daily, by choice. And it all begins with one small question every morning. What will I learn today? Ask that. Write it down. Follow through. Because the most successful people in the world don't just work harder, they learn smarter. They use every single day as a step toward their future. They never stop learning, never stop growing, never stop moving forward. You can do that too. And it starts tomorrow morning with one simple goal. Closing scene. Calm music builds. Audiobook wisdom looks directly at the camera, steady and grounded. One day, one goal, one step forward. That's how change begins. Start your mornings with purpose. Aim your mind before the world pulls you off track. And trust that the daily pursuit of learning, done with intention, will reshape your entire life. Chapter 8. Avoid content that adds no value. Information is everywhere. It surrounds you. It follows you. It waits for your attention every time you unlock your phone or open your laptop. And not all of it is helpful. Not all of it is good for your mind. If you want to grow, to improve yourself, to become wiser, stronger, more focused, then you need to protect what you allow in. Because not all content deserves your attention. Some of it distracts you. Some of it drains you. Some of it rewires how you think, slowly, silently, without you even noticing. This is the danger of consuming content with no value. It doesn't feel harmful at first. It's just a scroll here, a video there, a headline, a comment, a meme. But over time, this adds up. It fills your mind with noise. It clutters your thinking. It pushes out the space you need for clarity, creativity, and deep focus. Your mind is like a garden. What you feed it matters. If you feed it garbage, distraction, outrage, gossip, and shallow entertainment, don't be surprised when you start to feel stuck, confused, or tired all the time. But when you feed your mind carefully, intentionally, with ideas that challenge you, teach you, stretch you, and move you forward, you grow. Quietly, consistently, powerfully. That's why avoiding low-value content is just as important as seeking out high-value knowledge. Growth doesn't just come from what you consume, it also comes from what you avoid. Most people never stop to ask themselves, is this helping me think better? Is this adding anything meaningful to my life? Is this shaping the person I want to become? They consume passively, habitually, automatically. But the people who grow the fastest, who build mental discipline, emotional strength, and real personal power, they filter everything. They don't just watch videos. They choose them. They don't just read headlines. They investigate. They don't follow trends. They follow truth. They value their attention. They understand that what they consume today, they become tomorrow. This mindset is rare, but it's powerful. Start noticing how you feel after consuming different types of content. Do you feel clear or confused, calm or agitated, focused or distracted? High-quality content leaves you better than it found you. It teaches you something. It inspires better action. It gives you depth, clarity, or insight. It makes your thinking sharper. Low-quality content, on the other hand, leaves you numb, restless, irritated, or hollow. It wastes your time and trains your brain to chase stimulation instead of wisdom. Sometimes the content isn't even bad. It's just pointless. Endless videos of things you'll never use. Arguments about people you don't know. Trends that mean nothing next week. News that keeps you anxious. Without ever changing your behavior. You might not even realize it, but this kind of noise lowers your attention span. It steals your energy. It distracts you from your real goals. This is not about avoiding entertainment altogether. It's about being aware, being selective, being intentional. Ask yourself, does this content align with who I'm trying to become? Does it support my growth or slow it down? Is this moving me forward or keeping me mentally idle? Because, here's the truth, time spent consuming low-value content is not neutral. It's expensive. Every minute spent on distractions is a minute taken from something meaningful. Your growth, your goals, your development, your peace. The cost isn't just time, it's focus. And the longer you let your mind be ruled by passive content, the harder it becomes to focus deeply, to think clearly, or to learn new things. But the good news is, you can take back control. You can train yourself to crave valuable content again. You can raise your standards for what you consume. You can protect your attention from being hijacked. Start with awareness. Pay attention to your patterns. Notice what pulls you in and why. Notice what leaves you feeling worse, not better. Notice what makes you feel dull instead of alive. Next, clean up your digital space. Unfollow accounts that flood your feed with empty content. Unsubscribe from channels that no longer feed your growth. Turn off notifications that constantly interrupt your thoughts. This isn't extreme. It's intelligent. Your attention is limited. Treat it like it matters, because it does. Then replace the junk with content that actually helps you grow. Follow thinkers, writers, teachers and creators who challenge you. Read books. Listen to deep conversations. Watch educational videos that stretch your mind. Find voices that feed your purpose, not your ego. Even 10 minutes of valuable content a day can have a bigger impact than hours of shallow distraction. And as you consume better content, your mind starts to change. You begin to think more clearly. You focus longer. You feel calmer. You gain insight, discipline, and mental clarity. Over time, your brain adapts. You stop craving cheap stimulation. You start seeking meaningful ideas. Your attention sharpens. Your thoughts deepen. Your decisions improve. This shift can change the entire trajectory of your life. Because when your mind is clear, your vision becomes sharper. When your thoughts are intentional, your actions become purposeful. And when you stop wasting mental energy on useless content, you unlock time and space to build a better future. This is how you take back your mind. Not through motivation, but through discipline. Not by adding more, but by subtracting what no longer serves you. And it all begins with one decision: to value your mind enough to protect it. Because in a world designed to keep you distracted, focus becomes a superpower. And those who learn to protect their attention win. Scene fades to soft light. Audiobook wisdom speaks over a simple background. You don't need more content. You need better content. You need to care enough about your future to stop feeding your mind things that break your focus and blur your thinking. The information you consume is either building you or breaking you. There is no in-between. Chapter 9. Review your learning progress. Every Sunday night growth doesn't just come from action. It comes from reflection. Noticing what's working, noticing what's not, and having the humility to adjust your direction before you drift too far off course. In a world that celebrates hustle and speed, the habit of sitting down to review your progress might feel slow or even unnecessary. But it's one of the most powerful habits you can develop for your personal growth. One evening a week. One quiet hour. No distractions. Just you, your thoughts, and your progress. This is where your learning becomes real. This is where your growth becomes intentional. This is how your effort turns into mastery. Reviewing your learning progress every Sunday night isn't about perfection. It's about clarity. It's about accountability. It's about becoming conscious of how far you've come and what still needs work. Most people move through life on autopilot. They consume content. They read books. They listen to advice. But they rarely stop to ask, what did I actually learn this week? What stayed with me? What changed in me? What action did I take based on what I learned? Without review, learning fades. Without review, growth becomes accidental. Without review, you forget what matters, and you repeat the same week over and over again without realizing you're standing still. Sunday nights are a checkpoint. They're your moment to pause, to step out of the noise and step into your awareness. What did you read? What did you watch? What did you hear that sparked something deeper in you? Write it down. Not just the facts, but the meaning. Not just the information, but how it applies to your life. This is how knowledge becomes wisdom. And then go deeper. Ask the hard questions. Did I apply what I learned this week? Or did I just collect it? Did I practice the habit, or just understand the theory? Did I grow stronger, more focused, more disciplined, or did I just stay comfortable? This kind of honest reflection is rare, but it's what separates passive learners from powerful leaders. People who grow fast are not just smart, they're self-aware. They know where they've been, they know where they're going, and they track their own evolution like it matters, because it does. So how do you structure this habit? It starts with simplicity. Don't overcomplicate it. Make it consistent. One evening, every week, same time, same place. Create a system that feels natural to you. Use a journal, a digital doc, a voice memo, a whiteboard. What matters is that you take time to sit with your week and review it deliberately. Here's a simple structure you can use. 1. What did I learn this week? List the ideas, principles, and insights you encountered, whether from books, podcasts, conversations, or personal experiences. 2. What stood out to me the most, and why? Identify the one idea that hit you the hardest, the one that stayed with you. Ask yourself why it mattered. 3. How did I apply it in my life, if at all? If you applied it, write down what changed. If you didn't, write down why. Be honest, no judgment, just truth. 4. What challenges did I face in learning or applying this? Did you struggle to stay focused? Did you forget to take notes? Did you feel resistance to applying what you learned? Identify the friction. 5. What will I do differently next week based on this reflection? This is the most important part. Set a course correction. Make a plan. Recommit to your growth. The goal is not to write an essay. It's to create awareness. The goal is not to look perfect. It's to be real. Because when you review your learning consistently, your growth compounds. You retain more. You build habits. You think better. You live sharper. Review also reveals patterns. Over time, you'll start to notice what types of content help you grow the most. You'll identify which sources waste your time. You'll recognize which topics keep pulling you in, and you'll realize what your soul is really hungry to learn. This is how your self-education becomes self-guided. You stop chasing random content and start building a personal curriculum. You stop feeling overwhelmed and start feeling focused. You stop drifting and start driving. Sunday nights give you perspective. They remind you of your progress. They remind you that even when the week felt chaotic, there was movement, learning, growth. And sometimes the reflection reveals hard truths. Maybe you didn't learn much that week. Maybe you procrastinated. Maybe you consumed mindlessly. That's okay, because the point of the review isn't to shame yourself. It's to wake up, to become conscious again, to take ownership of your mind, to realign with your deeper goals. And over time, this small weekly habit creates massive internal change. Your awareness sharpens, your discipline increases, your confidence grows. Because when you see the small wins stacking up, when you see how your thoughts are changing, week by week, it becomes impossible not to believe in yourself. This is the secret that most high achievers know. Growth is not a sprint. It's a rhythm. It's built in cycles. Input, action, reflection, realignment, repeat. Reviewing your learning progress every Sunday night puts you back in control of your life. It gives you a pulse on your evolution. It reminds you that growth is happening, even when it's invisible. So make this time sacred. Turn off the noise. Light a candle. Sit with your thoughts. And ask yourself the questions that matter. Who am I becoming? What am I learning? What am I applying? What needs to change? Because the truth is, your life is being shaped by the things you do and the things you ignore. The thoughts you entertain and the ones you dismiss. The goals you track and the ones you abandon. If you want to grow intentionally, review intentionally. If you want to become excellent, reflect consistently. If you want to change your future, own your progress. And it all begins with one decision: to stop guessing and start reviewing. Chapter 10. Surround yourself with people who value growth. Growth is not a solo journey. No matter how determined or disciplined you are, the people around you shape who you become. Your environment, especially the company you keep, can either lift you higher or hold you back. Surrounding yourself with people who value growth is one of the most powerful decisions you can make for your personal development. It's not just about being around positive people, it's about being around people who hunger for learning, who seek improvement, who push themselves to become better every day. When you spend time with people who are committed to growth, you breathe a different air. Their mindset becomes contagious, their habits rub off on you, their language, their energy, their standards raise yours. On the other hand, if your closest circle settles for comfort, avoids challenges, and resists change, that will pull you down. You might feel stuck, frustrated, or even ashamed of your own desire to improve. People who value growth aren't perfect. They make mistakes, they struggle, but they don't give up. They hold themselves accountable, they seek truth. They celebrate progress, not just outcomes. When you choose to surround yourself with this kind of people, you create a natural support system for your learning journey. You get encouragement when things get tough. You get honest feedback when you need it. You get inspired by examples of effort and success. This doesn't mean you have to drop everyone who isn't a growth-minded person. Life is complex, and we all play many roles for different people. But when it comes to your core growth, your daily habits, your mindset, make sure those influences are positive and powerful. Notice who challenges you to think bigger, who pushes you to act better, who holds you accountable to your goals, who shares valuable ideas and honest perspectives. Seek out communities, groups and friendships where growth is the priority. Attend events, join clubs, participate in discussions that fuel your curiosity and stretch your mind. This environment will motivate you to keep learning even when motivation fades. It will remind you why you started in the first place. It will help you bounce back from setbacks. You'll find that growth becomes not just a personal goal but a shared value, something that connects you deeply with others. This connection breeds commitment. It breeds resilience. And remember, growth is contagious. The more you surround yourself with people who are learning and evolving, the more you become part of that energy. Your mindset expands. Your confidence rises. Your daily habits improve. If you want to educate yourself daily, you cannot do it alone. Your environment is either your fuel or your drain. Make sure it fuels your fire.